Here is how the Bible defines sexual immorality. You wrestle with this, okay? You wrestle with, you want to believe it or not believe it. You believe the Bible or not believe it. Okay, that's what everything ultimately boils down to anyway. But, nonetheless, this is what the Bible, it's how the Bible defines sexual immorality. All sexual activity outside the marriage relationship. Now, I know what some of you think it too. Well, does that include oral sex? Bill Clinton helped us figure that out. We know that. See, this is common sense. This is normal stuff that I shouldn't even have to get up and even speak about or talk about or preach about it. That's why I go back to the same thing. When it comes to the Bible, it's just, more than anything, it's just common sense. It's true. It's relevant. Because what culture is saying isn't working. Look what Paul says. He says, flee sexual immorality. Flee it. Run from it. My little Randy got stung the other day by a hornet right here. And I tell you what he does every time he sees a bee flying around his head now? He runs around screaming. He goes running all over. That's what Paul's saying we need to do to flex our sexual immorality. Flee, run, get away from it. He goes on to say, all other sins a man commits are outside his body, but he who sins sexually sins against his own body. Now, God isn't qualifying this single sin, but notice the first three words of that phrase that I said. All other sins. Repeat that for me. All other sins. Why does he qualify this? He's singling it out for one reason. Okay? He's singling it out. And it's not that God necessarily punishes people more for this one thing. No, it's how it affects us. We sin against our own body. Unlike any other sin. Paul goes on to say, do you not know that your bodies are members of Christ himself? Shall I then take the members of Christ and unite them with a prostitute? Never. You notice that word unite. Do you know what that word unite means? That means to bring together as one unit. It means like to glue two things together that when you separate those two things, it doesn't even break. Some of you know woodwork. Okay, if you glue things together, you unite those things so that if it breaks, it won't even break where the glue is. It breaks in another weakness to where that's at. Okay? Paul says, you've united yourself with a prostitute. That's permanency. But you say, I didn't unite with her. I didn't unite with her. Matter of fact, I might not even know her or his name. It might have just been a thing that happened. It might have just been an event that took place. I didn't unite with anybody. God says, yes you did. Yes, you did. And the only reason why you feel that way is because you don't understand sex. He goes on to say, in verse 16, do you not know that he who unites himself with a prostitute is one with her in body? For it is said, going way back to Genesis now, for it is said, the two will become one flesh. You see, what Paul is saying is there's a oneness that can't ever be one undone. You know this. You know this. I know this. Those people, sometimes we as people who have bought into this twist and have made mistakes along the way, we know this. This is not rocket science. We know that there's a part of us in that person. There's a part that person takes of you, and there's a part that you take of that other person. You see, sex was God's way. Sex was God's way of expressing intimacy at its deepest level for us. But sometimes this is hard because, man, we mess it up. We mess it up big time. And what we do is we mess up our capacity. We mess up our capacity to experience intimacy. Doesn't it just make sense? The reason why a lot of us struggle relationally, you know, I talk to a lot of people in my counseling office. Talk to a lot of people. And for the most part, primarily, a lot of it is marriage counseling related. And I've talked to a lot of people who have struggled with this type of scenario. Made some mistakes. Made some bad choices along the way. And suffering because of it. Just can't get past it because of it. Doesn't it make sense? Why do we have to preach about this? Why do we have to talk about this? Because we have so bought into this twist. And you can't blame, you really can't necessarily blame people for believing the way we do when they're plummeted. We are plummeted with the idea that sex is just sex. Sex is just an activity between two consenting adults. What's wrong with it? It's okay. And you come sit in my chair for a while and talk to people that are hurt, ripped apart, struggling, mad, frustrated, feeling rejected, feeling like they've given themselves away, only to just be spat upon, to be left alone, to recuperate from all the scars. Flee sexual immorality, Paul says. It's dangerous. It's dangerous. Why? Because I might get pregnant? Because I might get some disease? Maybe, but that's not the biggest part. The biggest part is because this is more than just physical. This dents our soul. This goes to the deepest parts of our intimacy level. It's more than just sex. It's more than just a physical act. This is dead our soul. Is it working? Has it worked? It's not working. But some of us will sit here and possibly be thinking, but I got away with it. But I got away with it. Nobody got pregnant. No disease. No hurt feelings. I'm okay. No, God says, no, you don't understand sex. Because what you're doing is you're denting your soul. And you know those lack of trust issues that you possibly might have? Maybe this just might be a part of it. Just maybe, it's a thought. Just maybe the relational issues that you have with people, maybe, just maybe, this might be partly caused. Just maybe. See, nobody gets away with it. Nobody gets away with it. We as a society